Hello, and welcome to our video on NASS sampling techniques. I'm Brad Summa, Regional Director of the USDA's National Agricultural Statistics Service for the Heartland Region. Today, we'll discuss the techniques NASS uses to sample farm operations and how we then collect information to set estimates of agricultural commodities. The National Agricultural Statistics Service, or NASS, is a branch of the United States Department of Agriculture. Our mission is to provide timely, accurate, and useful statistics in service to U.S. agriculture. We achieve this by administering hundreds of surveys each year and preparing reports based on the results, covering every aspect of U.S. agriculture. Every year, NASS publishes thousands of statistics that quantify agricultural activity in the United States. We achieve this by administering a Census of Agriculture every 5 years, and sample surveys over the course of every year. Compared to the Census of Agriculture, sample surveys use fewer resources and have a shorter time frame from administering the survey to summarizing the survey and publishing the survey results. In NASS, the term target population is used to mean the totality of farm operations of interest for a specific purpose. For example, if we were attempting to estimate the total acres of corn planted in Illinois, the target population would be all Illinois farm operations that grow corn. A sample is simply a subset of the target population. NASS maintains a frame or a list of farm operations across the United States with some basic contact information such as name, address, and some basic attributes of the farm like total land and total cropland. This frame then provides a concrete realization of the abstract target population from which a sample can be selected. In addition to saving time and money from conducting a census, the purpose of a sample is to make inferences about population characteristics. If the sample is representative of the population, then relatively accurate estimates of population characteristics can be obtained from the sample data. The difference in estimates obtained from sampling and the population value of characteristics of interest, otherwise known as the true value, is called sampling error. NASS often uses the term indication to represent the statistically derived estimate obtained from survey data. The term estimate is then reserved for the value which ultimately becomes the official published number. NASS uses a multivariate probability proportional to size, or MPPS, technique to assign probabilities of selection for its crop acreage, production, and storage, or APS, survey population. The crop's APS survey is administered in March, June, September, and December, and as its name implies, is designed to derive the number of specific crop acres planted as well as corresponding production and quantity of specific grain stored on the farm. The MPPS design assigns lower probabilities of selection for smaller farms and higher probabilities of selection for mid-sized to large farms, whereas very large farms are selected with a probability of 1. In other words, small grain farms have a relatively low chance of being selected for crops APS. Mid to large grain farms are more likely to be selected into the crop's APS, and very large grain farms will be selected into the crop's APS with certainty. At NASS, we recognize that everyone's time is valuable and hence strive to minimize the number of contacts made each year and the time required to report information on our surveys. We achieve this goal by using efficient sampling designs. This chart shows how many Illinois farms are being contacted for NASS surveys in a typical non-Census of Ag year. Right now, there are approximately 71,000 Illinois farms of all types and sizes. As the chart shows, we contact only about 30% or just over 21,000 of those farms at any point throughout the year. Less than 1,000 farmers are contacted more than 6 times a year, and these are mostly large farms who have a large influence on the estimates for a particular commodity. Now, some may ask, why do you have to contact the very large farmers so often? Well, imagine for a minute trying to estimate the average price that consumers pay for some common household items like milk and eggs. Now imagine trying to estimate that average without contacting retail giants like Walmart, Costco, Kroger, and Meijer. We cannot assume that these large retailers set prices for milk and eggs similar to those charged by smaller retailers. So given that these large retailers sell such a large percentage of the milk and eggs across the country, it would be impossible to produce reliable, accurate estimates without including them in the sample. For this reason, NASS contacts large operations more frequently than smaller operations. Recall the NASS mission: to provide timely, accurate, and useful statistics in service to U.S. agriculture. Lastly, I want to emphasize something very important. NASS is required by law to maintain strict confidentiality with all farm operator data we maintain and all farm information we collect in our programs. All information that a farmer shares with us is solely used in an aggregated manner for statistical purposes only. We do not share individual farmer information with outside entities, even if it comes from a Freedom of Information Act request. Sort of like the old Vegas motto: what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, while what's collected by NASS stays with NASS. I'm Brad Summa, Regional Director for the Heartland Region. Thank you for watching.